Hello, and welcome to the Straight to the Source podcast. I'm Tawnya Bahr.
And I'm Lucy Allen, and we're looking forward to taking you straight to the source of the people driving our food and hospitality industry forward.
In today's episode, I'm sitting down with Shaun Christie-David, a man with a deep-seated sense of social justice and the powerhouse behind Plate It Forward, a movement that's flipping the script on hospitality by creating jobs and building community. Listen in to hear Shaun's belief that food can and should be a force of good. Today's episode is proudly brought to you by our friends at Unox Australia, industry leaders in cutting-edge kitchen technology and innovation. Well, welcome to the studio, Shaun.
Thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here. And with Plate It Forward, could you describe what Plate It Forward is if there's somebody listening that has no idea what it means or what it stands for?
Yeah. Well, I wish I could. I don't know it myself either.
Okay.
However, I suppose what we are is a hospitality group dedicated to, I suppose, the world that we want through food, and that's employing people that would otherwise be out without jobs and feeding people in our communities that are going hungry.
And how did this big idea come about? What was it?
Yeah, look, it wasn't thoroughly planned. It evolved through humanity, I suppose, and responding the way that we always wanted to. And then every time a circumstance came, we were kind of there with food. Look, the first restaurant was Colombo Social, and that was like an ode to my mum, an ode to first generation migrants, and paying respect and I suppose homage to the way that women have shaped communities through food. But then also how I grew up with hip hop and dining out in Australia and a very cool scene, and trying to merge those two together. So the restaurant was fun. It was great. We were a very cool restaurant and something I'm very proud of to this day. And yeah, that was the start of the whole journey. I think we were 3 months in. 3 months in, it's fully booked out. It was going well. And the employment strategy was people that had been without jobs that we didn't think should be. And that was primarily at the start, people seeking asylum. So it was asylum seekers, incredible young women, mainly people from Yemen, Somalia, Sri Lanka, and around. And then COVID hit, and I previously did a bit of work with, about 5 years in Indigenous kind of health and things like that. And I was able to work across many communities, which was great. But then when COVID hit, they asked me, hey, how can you help? And we started donating food to Redfern, just like that. Whatever we had in our cool room, we just started to donate. It was not a planned thing. It was just what I had seen my whole life when we were growing up, was my mum fed people. And we fed people.
And when people are in need, you just come to their aid.
Yeah, we just do what we do, and what we've always seen. We've seen people cooking. We've seen people sharing meals. We've seen people giving what they had, and it just happened. It happened. It naturally evolved into that. And during COVID, we shut the first restaurant down, and we started to feed people. And there was thousands of meals going out. We had 25, 26 charity partners reaching out. It was crazy. It was a very big movement that happened, and I think people just needed connection, but most importantly, they needed the basics. And we saw people in Redfern and First Nation kind of elders in particular that didn't have a lot of family in here. A lot of them were stolen generation or had no family in Sydney and therefore no support network around them. And we started to just work with them and feed them, and then it grew and grew. From that point on, when we started that movement in April 2020 now, so what's that, coming up to 6 years?
Mm-hmm.
Not even 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. We've donated about 670,000 meals in Sydney, and then meals
That's
subsequently
fantastic.
overseas. Yeah, it's been big. It's been big.
And are you on your own doing it, or do you have a team?
I'm very fortunate to have a great team around me. I've got a COO who has 30 years of experience in hospitality, working in groups like Long Chim and Jamie's over in the UK and a few other great places. I've got a head of impact who has worked with Ottolenghi over in the UK, and then a great chef team who are committed to the food, committed to the produce, committed to what we do. And of our team of about 100 now, 90% of them are from the communities that face barriers to employment that we're trying to smash.
So how does it actually work?
Yes.
Like what are the mechanics behind it?
Look, in our restaurants, if you come in and don't dine on the set menu, we donate meals in the home country. So Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Ukraine, and now India. We'll go and donate meals over there and find charity partners that are aligned with us. In Sydney, we have a large kitchen that you've been to, which is amazing, in Alexandria, and we cook and donate 3,000 meals a week and distribute it to organisations that we really like. A lot of them are grassroots, a lot of them are community led, a lot of them are First Nations led, and we will provide the food to them. Sometimes it's a regular drop off in Redfern where we're there, bang, same time, same place every week, running a makeshift restaurant per se, or it could be in another organisation where they'll pick the food up and run it themselves. So it's however they want it, but yeah, it happens every week without fail, and that's the whole thing about us is consistency and quality.
And in addition to that, you're doing catering. You're offering catering.
Yep.
So there's kind of two streams
Yep.
to the model, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. Look, the funding gap was always going to be there, and as we increase our output, we've seen that the need increases, and people look at us and go, well, can you help? And it's hard to say no to some great organizations. So what we did was to bridge that funding gap. We started a high quality, high end catering company, which has been going very well. We've got some great companies that use us regularly, like so we do the food for the players and the athletes and the coaches and support staff for the Sydney Swans. We do the food for Netflix. We do the food for other large organizations that are regular contracts, and that allows us to do two things. It allows us to employ a lot of people who might not be able to deal with service because service is tough and frantic, and if you're coming from a high trauma background and potentially your country's in a war zone as it is right now, your mind might not deal with trauma in that fast-paced environment. So the catering kitchen is a little bit more relaxed, a little longer lead times, a lot more soft employment, a lot more training can happen in that kitchen. So we do that. So it's a great training ground, but also it does allow us to have some profits that can go back into the development of people and also the feeding of people.
And what about mental health? Is that part of the program as well? Do you?
Look, it's not in a structured way. Where we see ourselves as kind, soft, and gentle employers that care considerably. However, we're not equipped for the mental health, and we strongly encourage mental health out there. What we're seeing is our staff being with us for long periods of time, and it being a place for 8 hours where they don't have to think about what's going on back home. Yeah. So they're busy. They're also supported with lots of people that understand their backgrounds, that understand their trauma, and understand what they're going through. So therefore can be a support network without it being a kind of place where they feel isolated or lonely or that they don't get them. So we understand their situations, and it's always if someone has a situation unfolding back home, the conversation is, we'll pay you if you're a casual, if you need the time off, or you can stay. It's at your discretion. It's at your comfortability level where you're at right now. We've seen most people want to work still, even with the option of being paid. It's a way to keep their mind going, because they do feel quite helpless at that time. And being around people that get it can be there to support them and kind of be around with kindness is a place that they really enjoy. Through some of the harder circumstances that they're going through. So it is a tough one. We kind of realized that mental health support is best left to really deep professionals who have the ability to guide them through the hard times and give them the knowledge and equip them, versus us who we don't want to go outside our lane. We don't want to do something that we're not equipped or skilled to do. But being quite respectful is all we can do.
And having a purpose, food can be more than nourishment to our tummies. It's nourishment to our body, our soul, and talking with like-minded people and working in an environment that is so, nurturing.
Yep.
Food is just such a powerful tool, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's universal.
Yeah.
Everyone can connect to it. Everyone can relate to it. Everyone understands it. There's a sense of pride when you dish up something that you've cooked, but also has probably come from your generations and generations of your family, and being able to serve that is something great. So we kind of allow that to happen in our catering menus. We allow that to happen with our staff meals or conversations, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and it really allows a sense of ownership and pride. In the venues that we have, it's mainly we're 85% women, I believe. And they are the head chefs in all of our venues.
And how many venues do you have to date?
So we have 4. So Colombo, the first. Kabul, which is in Wynyard, is the second. That's Afghan. Kyiv in Chippendale is the third. And recently Calcutta, which is Bengali, Indian. Yeah, 4 restaurants.
Far out.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And we're talking in 6 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And so where to from here?
I wish we were redundant. I wish we didn't have a job. That means
Yeah.
people were employed gainfully, and they face barriers, and people being fed. I think our goal right now is to look at how best to serve our communities, how best to be there for our staff. Does that mean more venues? Possibly. We want to make sure that no one has an end date with employment to us, and no one has a short-term consultancy or whatever you want to call it, or placement. It is as long as they want to be with them. So we're trying to build pathways and careers for them. So that might mean more venues to be able to allow different skill sets and the training program to continue with while growing our staff and not having to see anyone leave us if they don't want to. So that's the goal. That's the reason for a lot of the expansion, is that we want to build skill sets and move people up in their career.
Well, in terms of supply and sourcing your ingredients, what's the procurement process?
Yeah, for the restaurants, it's a very straight commercial relationship.
Yeah.
That's where there's a revenue stream coming associated with it, same as the catering company. And we find the best produce and the best suppliers to go there. With our charity, where we're donating 3,000 meals a week, that's where we struggle to kind of afford at market rates the highest quality ingredients for the dishes. So we try and get about 250 grams of protein and about 250 grams of carbs. So it's a substantial meal for people that might not be eating regularly. So it's a very big thing for us to do the highest quality and large meals, and that's mainly animal-based protein. So all of it's meat. All our dishes go out with meat in them, about 250 grams. So we're lucky to have Steggles come on board and donate quite a bit of chicken for us. So that's a big thing. We have agreements with Coles through Second Bite and Food Bank to go out there and get whatever we can. And then the gap we just have to pay right now. That's our biggest area of need, is trying to find the highest quality ingredients. Our food is a very strong mandate. If we won't eat it, we don't serve it. And it's not an afterthought. It's the first thought for us. So we got to have to make sure that the quality goes as high as possible to yield the best food, because we want people to eat it and feel something special. So yeah, that's our biggest. Be nourished. Yeah. People say, why don't you do less protein? Possibly we could, but that would diminish the quality of the meals that we want to do. That would mean that people are still going hungry. So if we really move the dial as much as we want to, and if I'm not going to be full, I'm a big dude, then people might not be full at the end of it. We want to make sure that they feel satisfied, and that's a big meal for them. A lot of the people we speak to, that's their only meal of the day, if not a couple of days. So yeah, we try and do as much as we can. So yeah, protein's always crucial, and then vegetables that are high nutrients, high in vitamins, and fresh as possible as well.
And I would assume the more ingredients you can get in the back door, the more people you can spend that money hiring.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the trade-off that we always face, is that for every meal, we want to ensure that people are being trained and educated at the same time. So the more funds that we don't spend on food, which is better than anybody how much food is not is going away and being wasted. I mean, if we can redirect that into deep and meaningful employment opportunities for someone who might have just left a traumatic war or a situation at home that's difficult, that's where we want to be doing a lot more of our resources going into employment and training.
So if we have food producers listening to this podcast right now, what would you say to them?
Thank you. To start off with, I think where we want to see is we are a great organization doing our part, but this will only work with everybody behind it. It's a movement. We call it the Plate It Forward movement. And it's not just one organization. We're lucky enough to have a whole heap of people that back and support us and believe in what we do. The more of us there are, the bigger the impact we can have. The more funds that we save, the more we go into employment, the higher quality food that goes out there, the better it is. And there's an environmental need for this. And instead of throwing it away or having those huge costs into disposal or the environmental impact on that, being able to utilize that to go into high quality meals that people are going and needing is the way that this whole ecosystem of change works. So yeah, that's our biggest thing is that, and making sure that the quality is great and that people will get to enjoy some of their produce.
Well, I've got to say, I was blown away when I recently toured your commercial kitchen in Alexandria, and I looked at the whole flow, and there you had your bank of Unox ovens in the back, and you had all your equipment there, and it was so just so carefully, organized, and the ingredients. When I looked at your dry store and looked at the smiles on the faces of everybody cooking in harmony, it really, you could feel the energy in there. You really could. Yeah.
And you touch on the Unox relationship and the team at Unox led by Wayne, who is one of our greatest resources that we've ever come across, and he's a wonderful man. We've seen by the donation of the ovens our workflow get better, and the whole systems food's a lot safer, a lot more efficient, a lot more effective, and a lot higher quality. Now, what that means is that we've seen a 22% increase in the amount of food that we've been able to cook because of that time being saved, and the less worry about the cooking process and the chilling process and a lot of other factors that go into that. So we've seen a very smart, beautiful partnership form that has increased the amount of food that we've been able to do, and do it in a very safe way. So that is a huge kind of way that this works. Unox have products that are the best kind of ovens out there, and by giving us that and saying, hey, look, how can we help? We said, this is the best way. We need some ovens, and they went out there and they gave us those Avero hot fridges, which has just changed the way that we can do the cooking and the distribution of many, many meals. Lots of people going out hot, so that it can get served hot right away out in Redfern, and a lot of schools take that food in. Again, it's a very great Indigenous school gets lunch, and we cook it, and instead of having to chill it, send it cold, reheat it on site. That huge journey is
and you're going in and out of the danger zone
multiple times. And we don't have control over on the other side for it to be brought up in temperature, because we can only serve it cold so that it gets out there as safe as possible. But being able to send it hot, and going 25 minutes down the street, it's still hot in the Canberras, gets out, we know that it's guaranteed to be there, which has changed a lot of the stress points that we were experiencing to know, we're dealing with vulnerable people, we're dealing with people with chronic health conditions, we're dealing with stuff. If it goes outside that danger zone, is served outside that danger zone, something that we couldn't control, it was worrying us. So this Avero fridges, hot fridge, we call it, is an absolute game changer for us in terms of food safety and quality, and being hand on heart able to say, yeah, it's safe.
Wonderful. Well, there's something that when I was coming here and I looked up and I saw a billboard. And I just thought I'd maybe mention it. So, can you please explain? Doubt never did.
Yeah. Commonwealth Bank have been, again, great friends of ours for a long time. They gave us their kitchen out in Everleigh. No one really knows this during COVID, because we were struggling. We were a restaurant kitchen, 80-seater restaurant kitchen, and it's nice, but to pump out 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 meals, we had no equipment. You don't have the same commercial kitchen equipment that you do in a catering kitchen per se, and high volume. So they said, could just jump in there. No one's in there. And they gave us their kitchens and a few of their staff to really increase the amount of food we did early on. And from that point on, Lee Hardy, who's the executive chef, has been a great friend. So when Commonwealth Bank were doing this campaign around understanding challenges and barriers, understanding obstacles and understanding things, and then pushing through them and creating the world that you want to see. And I've been quite open about the doubts that creep in and the struggles that you face, not only financially, but all types of, imposter syndrome. What am I, like, I look at this now, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just a dude, you know what I mean? I still don't know what I'm doing. So how do you hear that voice? How do you understand that? How do you listen to it? How does it motivate you? And then how do you push through? So the Doubt Never Did campaign was with myself, one of the dancers for the Wiggles, who went out and started a inclusive dance studio, which is incredible. And I love everything about that. And then Mary Fowler and her journey, obviously, to becoming a Socceroo, and that what she went through, which is amazing. If you can listen to their stories, I highly recommend it. And yeah, so that campaign has been bigger than I thought. It's been on billboards everywhere. I kind of get photos all the time from it's a bit awkward. But it's a testament to, and I am a mere ambassador for the people who we employ. I get to hear their stories and I get to convey it through mediums like this, or the story that I shared on the podcast with Commonwealth Bank and that kind of thing, about the resilience and the strength of the people from all over the world, who are kind of going through difficult circumstances. We have a workforce from Ukraine, and what they're going through now is difficult. We've got a large workforce from Palestine, and what they're going through in Gaza is difficult. And hearing firsthand about their families is challenging, as well as people from all over the world, or out of the incarceration system, or people with disability, or wherever their background of strength and resilience is. We're able to kind of share that in a way that puts it on the plate, and then puts it in front of people.
And by you being so open and sharing your story, it's very inspiring to others too. Because one would look at you and go, he's just a mover and a shaker. He's making change for good and doing all these amazing things. Yeah. But one might not assume that you had doubted yourself.
Yeah. I think that's what the story behind why I say the thing is that I don't think that anyone has to go and leave a good job and do what I did. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody.
What was your job?
I was working in banks. So funny enough, I worked in investment banks and financial institutions and great organizations, that have been, in and around the Australian financial sector for many years. And then I was lucky enough to work for a gentleman called Norman Swan from the ABC, and we set up a TV channel called the Aboriginal Health Television Network, which will be one of my favorite things that I've ever done. And then started the restaurant. So it's one of those. It's a journey that we can do on a daily scale. I think it's shopping through good people, and looking at where you buy your produce from, where you source your ingredients from, where you hire people, and looking at your hiring process. And as employers, we have a great ability to have a workforce that we choose, and we have training programs or kind of ways to upskill people, and we control that destiny. So how do we look at people from communities that need jobs, that are super hardworking, that have strength, and how do we activate them to better our society because they want to contribute?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we use our privileges every day to create a better impact? And I think that could just be kindness as well.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be bold. It doesn't have to be massive. But if everybody does that, the world will be a better place.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. Simple, eh?
So, Shaun, do you have a culinary background?
My mum's a great cook, and I've been lucky enough to be a sampler of ingredients my whole life. No, I am not in any way culinary equipped. I can't cook.
So, how did you go from finance to even starting a restaurant like Colombo Social?
I was lucky enough to have a very good business partner at the time who
Okay.
runs sort of hospitality, so we
Yeah.
worked very well together. And he's moved on to different things in his life, which is great. And I think we were hospitality from a very young age. We had hundreds of people over. My mum was an entertainer, my dad was an entertainer. We grew up always around events and food, and I think that just rubbed off onto us. And our hospitality sequence of service and the things that we do aren't conventional in lots of ways. It's very relaxed. It's very chill. I don't talk to customers over them. I sit down with them when I'm going through their order. I'll just literally grab a seat. So it's not your standard way to do it. However, it's authentic. It's genuine. And what we've spoken to all our team is we didn't hire you because you're a hospitality person. We hired you because you're a person. And we want to see your personality, you shine, and who you are and your story. What you're comfortable sharing, you share. What you want to talk about, you talk about. But you be you, and that's the whole thing about our brand is that individual nature. And we have women who are in their 60s who were economists from the central bank of Ukraine. They had another lady who's makes our dumplings had a team of 500 under her. How do you tell them how to do that? They just naturally do it. You know, they've got their kindness and they've got their beauty, and the way that they speak is so natural and caring and warm. So we never do that. So when I don't have a culinary background and I don't have a deep hospitality background or I don't have any skill sets, I don't believe. But what we've done, it's true.
Okay, I beg to differ on that, but go right ahead.
Without a speciality. I think not having a speciality has allowed me not to get pigeonholed somewhere. I'm not a chef, so therefore I don't stay in the kitchen. I'm not a front of house expert, so I don't stand on the floor the whole time. I don't know much about wines, so I can't sell wines, for example. I don't really have a place in the restaurant, so I get to float and kind of just be there around the team, which facilitates a very different style. We don't have hats in any of our restaurants, but we have a 4.8 Google rating on all of our restaurants. With thousands of reviews. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And how you evaluate success, it's all relative.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're driving change.
Yep. That's the ultimate goal.
I don't think you need a hat, do you?
Good food. If you're listening, we should.
Well, speaking of good food, you look at SBS food.
Yep.
And recently you were awarded quite an accolade.
Yeah. Yeah, so 50, I think it's change makers in Australian food.
50 greatest change makers.
Yeah,
yes.
over the last 50 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Were you in there?
No.
You should be in there.
No, thank you.
Call them, tell them what's going on. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That was a great one. What it recognizes, again, it means that you don't have to be a prolific chef to make a change in the culinary scene. You don't have to be from the industry to go out there and say, we want to give warmth. We want to give genuine hospitality and a different way of thinking. I think it recognizes a different way of thinking, which I'm very grateful for that kind of thought process that's coming in. A lot of organizations now is challenging the way that hospitality has always been done. I stepped in many years ago and I saw the industry as a beautiful industry, but I also saw some of the challenges that were being faced by women in particular, and the way that the work-life balance was not there, and things like that. And I didn't like it. I didn't love a lot of those elements. Mm-hmm. I don't want my chefs to be working too hard. I don't think that's great. I want them to go home and have their family life. I want them to have a social life, and the days of antisocial hours and that being the way it's meant to be because it's just the industry is not for me. And I was telling you before, I cut down to 4 days a week as the CEO of the organization to encourage my staff to have a greater work-life balance. And I think organizations sometimes are driven by the top culture. And if I'm chill and I'm relaxed, I want them to go out there because you enjoy your life more when you enjoy your job, and vice versa. If you're enjoying your family life and your home life, be whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be that you go home. You can do whatever you want, but I don't want you in the kitchen for 60 hours in a dark room. What a miserable place to be the whole time. So go out there, and when you're with me and when you're with our organization and when you're there, you're present and you're on and you're loving it. Then when you're not, you don't take it home with you and you get to enjoy it. So that's a big thing that I saw the industry needed, as well as the obvious kind of recalibration with how we treat everybody. And I think having a workforce that's 80% female has allowed us to cultivate a culture of care and kindness and compassion that I'm very grateful for as well.
Well, your work is very, very personal to you.
Yeah.
And do you find that has ever gotten in the way in terms of, achieving what you need to achieve to get the results and the outcomes that you need to get?
100%. It is a diary for madman, that when you go against what is traditionally and conventionally done, it's always a bit strange and people don't get it as easy as you think.
Yeah.
So there's that battle. I think there's always I faced a lot when especially when I started, about you don't know the industry, so therefore you can't do it. And who are you? That was a big one. And, I stepped back probably 2 years ago. And this is the scale, I suppose, the scale dilemma. When you go from one to multiple restaurants, you can't be there in the restaurants. You can't do everything. I remember one of my favorite restaurants, the owner would proudly be the first one in, the last one out. And he said, no one can do it as good as I can, which is amazing. But then if you ever want to do 2.0.
But is that sustainable?
It's not sustainable. And we saw when there are other things that they want to do in life happened, they couldn't be there for everything. So what I realized is that it might not be exactly my way, but I don't want it to be my way. I want people to express their own individuality, but also to be able to grow and delegate. And I've got someone that loves the saying delegate to elevate. So we delegate as much as I can to elevate the organization to be at a level that's not key man dependent or not cookie cut Shaun Christie-David. It allows each venue to be its own being. Each culture is different. So we've got the ambassadors from that culture to go out there and say, what is a Ukrainian venue? I don't know what a Ukrainian venue is, so how can I do it? So they become the subject matter experts, and I've delegated the business flows and a lot of the fit out stuff and that kind of things to people from that culture.
So finding the venues, let's talk about that, because location.
Yep.
Like, how do you go about that? And how do you fund, especially when you don't have an established, you've got an established restaurant, but like with the venues, how do you find the venues in order to make it make sense?
Yeah. My mum always says that when it's meant to happen, things will just happen. Kabul was one that was given to us, and that was through Mervac, and they were beautiful. They wanted to help out, and they had a venue that was doing nothing, and they said, "Do you want it?" And I activated that, which was beautiful. From that point on, we've got commercial leases everywhere, and now that one, even Kabul's moved to a commercial relationship. We pay commercial rent everywhere, but we know where we want to be. We know the kind of people that we want to engage and where we want to engage. The inner West is a big thing for us. Very like-minded. They understand what we're trying to do. They are kind and compassionate to our workforce. They treat them so well. They're very good. They're like very supportive of social causes without being tokenistic, and they're loyal to us, which is great. So we're very much in that region or the city. We don't go to where the populations of that country are, because they understand the challenges that they face. So we don't want to preach the converted. We go to areas where we know people don't fully grasp what a Ukrainian person might be, but they want to know, and they want to talk to them. So we're in the areas where like that, which is cool. But yeah, how we fund it is just through cash flow. We are super tight with everything we do. We have to run the charity, we have to run the organizations, but we have to grow to employ the people that we need to, and keep promoting them. So we just ruthless with how much money we can save at the end of each week, and that just all gets redirected either into the charity or into new business development, and kind of just building from there. So yeah, it's 5 years without a salary, but we'll get there one day.
Say that again.
It's 5 years without a salary, but we'll get there one day. So yeah.
Okay. Well, with the food producers, if there are some listening,
Yep.
and some of these farmers, and if they do have a surplus of an ingredient,
Yep.
and they want to get in touch with you,
Yep. Yep.
what's the process? How do they? I mean, they can call me and I'll just hook them up with you. But
yeah, that'd be the best outcome. Your stamp of approval will be very, very, very helpful for us. But yeah, look, it's help@playeditforward.org.au. And that's for anybody that wants to reach out and be part of the movement in any way, shape, or form. Suppliers, people that I don't know how they want to be involved. If they want to understand how to employ people from communities, if they want some experience around that, there's a whole heap of things that we can do. There's work that we do in incarceration with young people. So there might be, I don't know, some day outings for people in incarceration to go out there and get out to farms and experience firsthand nature. Because a lot of these young boys and young women who we work with in incarceration have never been outside their little radiuses. So it might be that we can kind of organize something where they get to feel nature, feel food being grown, and be part of that. So there's a multitude of ways that people can be involved. It's obviously the more food and high quality food we have, the better our meals and the higher quality. So that's the best one. But yeah, anything else, we're always down to chat.
Shaun, just listening to you talk, I just keep going back to conviviality, and I keep going back to we as a society helping each other, helping our fellow man, and collectively we have a lot more power than individually. And this movement, the Played It Forward movement that you are driving forward is making an impactful difference.
Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for giving us a platform to share our story.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. So thank you for coming on the podcast, and look forward to seeing what the next steps and seeing more billboards with you, because you know what? It's just raising awareness, and that's what we at Straight to the Source want to do. We want to support, I mean, from how many years ago was it when we
I'd say 5. I'd say 5 years ago. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that was in between a lockdown or two, and I think it was
Kenvale College, where we did some judging.
Yes.
And then you came in and did some cooking quite a few times with us. Yeah, and brought some great chefs in with you.
Yeah. And it's funny because all those memories just, they're so meaningful. Yeah. But also, we need to get back in there and do it again.
Yeah, 100%.
So if there's chefs that want to volunteer, they've got their day off and they want to give back, how can, what do you need?
Again, reach out. Yep. The more regular we have chefs coming in, it doesn't have to be obviously every day. But if they can say, look, well, I've got one day every 6 weeks and I can commit to it, and that we've got a regular output, what we have to do each week. So the more consistent everybody that comes into the world that we work in, it allows us to ensure that we don't lose our quality or our consistency or regularity, because people depend on us. So that's a big thing, because we'll manage our workflow based on who we know is coming in. If they let us know that they're coming in, then bang, we can again redirect someone that might want some more skills. And let's just take an example. A butcher, for example, says, I've got a day, I'm going to show you how to cut a whole carcass, which could be great training for our team. Yep. We'll allocate some resources for that, so we get to learn something new, or learn a new dish or something that we can do. So yeah, anyone's welcome in the mix, but just being there, turning up, being the right attitude, and working as part of a collective movement is really important as our big thing.
And if there's corporations out there that need catering,
Yep.
let's go to the other side of the business. And, you guys your commercial kitchen is SMIC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're again going back to UNOX and the organizations that have backed us, and that by getting the highest caliber of equipment, the greatest thing we got to be very ultra food safe, and we've got to be very high quality. We're not a charity caterer, we're a caterer. We want to be one of the best out there. So yeah, it's big for us. So if they want to reach out, we do lunches, canapé events, breakfasts now as well, and then we got global food. So we got pastries from Palestine or food from Kabul, as well as just bacon and egg rolls, for example. So yeah, we do it all.
Oh, Shaun Christie-David, I just love your work. I love you. Thank you so much for all that you do.
No, appreciate it.
If this conversation sparks something in you, please share it, talk about it, and consider how your plate can be part of the solution. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time with more real talk from the change makers shaping Australia's food future.
Today's episode is proudly brought to you by our friends at UNOX Australia, industry leaders in cutting-edge kitchen technology and innovation.